Welcome to Igniting Inspired Insight, a space for real conversations, raw conversations with real and beautiful humans. I am your host, Jay, a teacher, guide, and student of expanding and empowering energy and exploring everyday wisdom. In each short episode, we explore three questions that open the door to reflection, resonance, and revelation. One question I ask every guest, one they won't expect, and one they get to ask me and maybe answer themselves. This is a space for truth, trust, and the kind of insight that comes from simply being human. Let's begin. So today I have my dear friend who is currently in California. And her name is Carrie. And we have known each other for quite some time now. And it's such a special relationship of guidance and learning and Reiki and yoga and all of these beautiful things. And I'm so grateful you were top of my list of like, where are we going to start? Um, and we've done this before. Actually, I've been on your podcast, which is really exciting. So I'm so grateful to have you here, honored and excited about this conversation forward. So I'm going to hand it over to you for a minute. My dear friend, who are you in this moment in time?
Well, it's good to put a pin in the this moment in time, right? Because that conversation is always evolving and growing. But yeah, I'm the founder of the Reiki Healing Society, and I am a yoga instructor, a Reiki um, practitioner, a Reiki teacher, and I've recently been expanding into a couple new roles in my professional life of becoming a mentor to other Reiki practitioners as they're on their journey towards opening up their own Reiki practice or Reiki business. And then I've also just taken on a new tool within my healing arts practice, Vedic astrology. And so I've been um, in a deep dive, a year-long course on Vedic astrology that kind of sparked some interest a few years prior to that. So I've been really exploring Vedic astrology for the last couple of years pretty solidly. And just started opening up, offering sessions, and using this really profound tool to help us understand ourselves from a spiritual place, to really be able to access our own inner knowing. And it's just so fascinating that it's like this pathway is all written in the stars. So those are the things that are really lighting me up right now in my life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And you can feel it. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
So here we are. First question, first segment is the common thread, one that everyone gets to answer, but every answer is different. And I love that.
Mhm.
What's one belief, moment, or experience that changed the way you see the world?
Oh, well, I love this question. So thank you for answering it. And I bet it's really interesting to see, how the same question gets answered with um, everyone who's coming on your podcast and joining you in. So, um, as I was thinking about this, I mean, some really pivotal moments in my life really came to the front. There was some like darker moments, more traumatic moments, more challenging moments, and then really trying to lean in also to the beautiful moments. And I guess my truth in this, Jay, is that there is a moment where I tap into something that shifts my mind and energy every day. There's some really profound truth that I feel like I find and access in every day. And it's always shaping how I see the world and reminding me to shift my mindset from like this kind of more depressed or anxious tilt, worried tilt that, our mind naturally can go into. But shifting our awareness into this place where the mind can be open and expansive and see things as they are and have more control over one's inner world and their inner experience, and seeing that matched in the outer world. Um, so I'd say that my insight today, just for today, has been that's been life changing, and that has been like a thread through my whole journey. But it's one that I'm always trying to come back to, and it's very subconscious for me. But the insight today that came through today was that I don't have to make it so hard. Like, I don't have to make it so hard. And that there's this kind of inner tug inside of me that I can somehow manifest and create more challenge than is necessary. I sometimes struggle with going with the flow of following that path of least resistance, thinking that somehow in the struggle I'll be earning or gaining more through that process. So it's like a life-changing revelation, right? Like, I can take in that medicine every day and try to find more ease and grace in my life. I think I will be a much happier person. And but it's just so interesting how that in that naming of um challenge or struggle or um that feeling that I always have to take the more challenging path, I've realized how much I've overworked myself, I've overstressed myself, and I, the best thing that I can do about all of that is to choose a different path, like to choose a different way and be intentional about that. So I know this is just a realization that happened to me today, but there has been threads of this through my whole life,
Oh
and I
yeah.
think that's one of the beautiful things about a spiritual path is that it's something that, yes, shapes us, but we have to come back to those simple truths every day, or we easily forget them. We easily lean into a different programming, a different way of thinking, more subconscious way of living.
Mhm.
And when we can offer ourselves those moments of gratitude, grace, mindfulness, um, we can see the world through a much brighter and expansive place. So
Mm.
that's the short answer. I also think of some other moments. I think when you asked that question, I was like, other moments for sure were, when I found out I was going to have my daughter, my son,
Mm.
moments
Moments
where
of
certain
impact.
people came into my life. And yeah, so those
That's
also
beautiful.
come top to mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, isn't there? And it's like sometimes even it's just, I know it's like choosing which one to share. The reflection for today, I feel is like really powerful and poignant for so many people. And it's like I don't have to make it so hard. And understanding what you said, was that it's a programming, and that if we're with awareness of that operating system, we can allow it to change. So it's so
Mhm.
beautiful to be in that awareness because up until then, you're doing it for so long without knowing, nor do you know what it's doing to you. But there is
Mhm.
also this thread of, and it's still very much alive, of needing to prove yourself, and improving means you got to work really fucking hard, and that isn't in alignment with the flow of the feminine or just what's good for us in our nervous system, or being ready and present to opportunities that come through, right? Like when we're in that, like, fright, got to do everything. And I think the other thing that I hear is like when we make it hard, and this is me reflecting on my own experience of that, is like we're overanalyzing and overthinking everything. And
Mhm.
that's one of the
Mhm.
like direct reasons why we make things hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Sure.
So I love that.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you feel like
Yeah.
that's the piece that makes it hard for you?
I think. Hmm. Yeah, I think that sometimes, okay, so what a piece of this, right, that I've been learning and threaded through to my Vedic astrology studies is that my ascendant is, in Capricorn. And always identified more with my sun sign, which is a Western astrology way of thinking about things. And that I think is also very telling of our own personality and what orients us and so forth. But a Capricorn, it was like a whole new worldview that I could like shine a light into a side of myself that I hadn't really seen. It felt fairly subconscious for me. But Capricorns are like notoriously hardworking. I mean, and they like need so much self reassurance. Like they kind of need this reassurance every single day. Am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Am I putting my effort and my energy? Because we put so much energy and time and effort into things that, like, you want to make sure you're doing it correctly, and like making mistakes, or spending more time uh doing something that might not be fruitful, like that. It's a heavy kind of sign, right? And becoming more aware of that aspect to myself, I've realized how, yes, in my professional life, sometimes I make it too hard, and sometimes I need constant reassurance. And some aspect of my spiritual practice really helps me with that, right? Because I can feel maybe some insecurity or vulnerability, and then by sitting in a Reiki practice or Reiki meditation, or just taking a step back from that feeling of anxiety, overwhelm, overwork, and try to figure out what's really going on there. um and then seeing if I can readjust my attitude about it, because our attitude is so important. Like, it could be super easeful and just great, whatever it is that we have on our plate to do, whether it be cleaning our house, or doing that thing you're procrastinating in your life, or tackling a project that seems to have been growing out of control in your mind. um so, with mindfulness, we can really shift those patterns. And so I'm just celebrating that, you know. Um, I think a gentler path, an easier path, comes when we're in that flow. And in the Tao Te Ching talks about effortless action. And that's always like the sweet spot that I'm mining for, where it feels good to do whatever I have on my plate, because it means that I'm accomplishing that thing, and I'm, putting that work product out there to the world, and I'm, sharing a piece of myself to my audience, my community, all of that. And those things also really motivate me. So finding the gratitude for the things that sometimes feel a little mundane or challenging.
Hmm. I love that. It really speaks true what you said about it's all about attitude, because often it's not what we're doing or how much of it we're doing, it's how we feel about what we're doing or how much of it we're doing. It's
Exactly.
the energy that we're in when we're doing.
Yeah.
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 I love, and I want to hear more. Hopefully we'll hear more through the questions about your Vedic astrology knowledge, and it's making me want a session with you, which is really fun.
It is a lot of fun for
It
sure. So.
is. It is. It's such a guiding light and such a powerful way to understand self, is what I've experienced about pieces and parts of astrology and human design and things like that. It's like they're not, to me, they're not boxes that I fit in, but they're ways of getting to know the energies and the attributes of self. And it's like, yeah, so that's why I'm curious about that with you.
Hmm.
It's so
Yeah, the archetypes are really powerful, and everybody has their own expression inside those
fun.
archetypes for sure. And certain aspects of the archetype,
Yeah.
become more important or relevant. And I think we can all relate, though, to some of these Capricorn ideas,
Mm.
absolutely. So, and maybe some people we've done better to kind of transcend these inner blocks, and you know but
Mm.
I'm still working on it.
As
um
we all are, a work in
Absolutely.
progress.
Yep. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. Now we get to move on to second question. And this segment is called In the Moment. And the reason for that is because they don't know before the podcast and before our recording time what the question is going to be. So my question for you, my love, is What are you no longer apologizing for?
Mm. Oh, well,
I know
there's
it's
probably a lot
tricky.
of ways to respond to this question. And I actually really love your integrity with this question because you called me out on so many times. Don't apologize for that. Don't apologize for that. When we've had conversations, situations, things that whatever we've done
And I
together.
know that anyone that knows me that's listening to this will be doing the same thing.
I know.
Dang it.
And it's so good. I mean, I love how you hold that space and be like, stop doing that, and call people out on it because it's so true. Because it's very instinctive for me. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry about this, but and might come off as polite, but there's like these kind of subtle reverberations of that, resonance of that, right, into our inner world. And so I think it is so important to be mindful about this question. What am I not willing to apologize for anymore? So what comes top of mind for me is I'm no longer willing to apologize for having needs.
Yes.
Um, yes.
That was the woman,
Uh,
like, yes.
yes. I mean, yes, I need to eat. Yes, I need to fill my gas tank. Yes, I need to take time for myself. And what's really been so much at the heart of my Reiki practice right now, and really the practice that I'm sharing with my clients as well, is Reiki is the practice of being open to receive exactly what you need in this moment in time. And that's it. That can, I mean, there's so much simplicity with the practice of Reiki. It can be just simply placing your hands on yourself or somebody else with that intention of healing. But in that inner world, what exactly does healing mean? And I think that that intention of I'm open to receive whatever I need in this moment in time helps us create like a bridge into ourself and into our needs, what we need, and it brings more conscious awareness of what about what we need. And sometimes what we might need kind of feels very far off. Like, oh, I need this certain situation to resolve, or I need this amount of money in my bank account, or I need this person to stop doing that. Um, and might feel a little external, but actually, there's so much internal neediness that I think we all have. I have, and when I can meet that need with compassion and courage and curiosity, I think I could be more resourced about getting my needs met in a healthy way. And then it's just brought up so much of my own. Um, yeah, it's created a real big shift for me. It's to being open to receive exactly what I need in this moment, and to really believe that whatever I need in this moment is accessible to me and it's
Mhm.
available to me. It's not something that I can't find or I can't access, and then not apologizing for it.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I actually right now I need to be really compassionate to myself. Right now I need some time to rest. Right now I need some time to exercise, or whatever it is that, you know, my body or my spirit is really telling me.
Mm. It's so powerful. I think about it's a stepping stone, right? Because as I understand, and it was true for me too, there was a really big chunk of time where I didn't know what I needed. So even if people are like, "What do you need?" I'm like, "Oh," because it wasn't a muscle that I practiced. It wasn't a question that I asked myself. It wasn't something that I afforded myself. So I really feel that. But in that, like, what is it that you think held you back from allowing yourself to have your needs, to meet your needs?
I think for me, it's some codependency, right? Where I'm so used, and it's so easy for me to like kind of sacrifice what I need so that, you know, my partner's okay, my kids are okay, my business is okay, or, you know, any other thing that's happening in my life. And so my needs and my wants and my desires start to slide further and further to the back burner. And as I prioritize other people's needs, wants, desires over my own, like it's just an easy way to like lose oneself, right? And so I think that's been the struggle. There's probably much more complexity to it as well, but
Mm. No, I mean that's a beautiful level of awareness. It's like, and again, it's much like what you were saying before. It's like it's a practice that we build. It's like something that we start to change within ourselves and appreciate and get better at. It's a relationship.
absolutely. Yeah, and as I've been able to embrace my needs, like it's been so cool because I can see how, yeah, that push and that momentum to put myself on the back burner, and like it feeds into needing validation externally from other people, from circumstances, situations. But when I allow myself, you know, to be at the center really of my own experience, like to really place myself and my wants, needs, desires right here as like the top priority, and then everybody else kind of falls in line around that, then um I'm, yeah, much more resourced, and I can hold a stronger self sense of self, you know, in different circumstances where I don't feel like I have to bend over backwards to make other people happy. um that I can really be like, Actually, that's not my job." I can recognize that more quickly before than maybe before I've really done this inner work.
Mm, so true. I love that. And what that makes me think about is like what you listed off of about what used to come first and often will still, but like with your business or your relationship or your kids, it's like they are you. And so when you meet your needs, that's filtering out. And a lot of people don't see it that way. It's like when you meet your needs, when you really care for this vessel and whatever the energy being of you needs, that light ripples out to those things. Right. And when we start to understand that, it's like we're operating that in a way that lifts everything. Rather than if I'm at the back, well, then everything's gonna start to because I'm
Mhm.
connected to those things.
Yeah,
And like you said, be the
absolutely.
resource because you're the source a lot of the times.
It's true, yeah, in my household and, you know, in my life, you know, and working with clients, everything, you know, it is a it's a response also to my energy too. So when I take more radical responsibility for my energy, um, you know, we can do the same for our children, our family, our the people all around us, you know, our
Mhm.
workplace. And I think too, like really emanating that for our kids, you know, like I can sit with my kid, and when he or she is, you know, upset, crying, frustrated, we can just, you know, they can even ask this question, like, "What do you
Mhm.
need right now?" And they might not know. And so I'm like, "Well, can I give you a hug? And you wanna?" And I've been doing a lot of tapping with my daughter and just, you know, helping
Oh,
her, you know, work with some struggling emotions, and yet at the same time still holding space for loving oneself and caring about oneself.
hmm. Yeah. And the other thing that I find is like when my needs are met, I'm more likely to be having a good time in my life. Like I'm more likely to play or to enjoy. It's like when I'm not doing that, I'm in serious mode and I'm also depleted. And that ain't fun. And
Mhm,
that's not just
mhm.
for myself, that's for everyone around me. And because, what else are we here for but to have like a great time as often as we can. Not always, but as
Yeah,
often as we can. And to be in that play and that nurturing for others and for yourself. That's what I hear um, from you as well, as like being in that, giving yourself what you offer others.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
You have to embody it first before you can really share it with others, for sure.
Lead the way.
Mhm.
Hey. All right, here we are. Question number three. So this section is called Reflected Light, and just like this last section of In the Moment, and Carrie didn't know what I was going to ask her. I don't know what she's about to ask me. So over to you, my love.
Okay, well, my dearest friend Jay, I just adore you. And I don't know how many mornings I wake up. Maybe some of it's the time change between us, but I get to wake up and see, your face on a reel or an email from you, some gorgeous offering that you share from your heart. And honestly, every little bit of it, like I can't always attend it, but I'm always just so proud of you for all that you do. So, um, thank you for being you, first of all. And I was just wondering, maybe you could share with us like how you move through resistance, because you're just kind of this go-getter person. And I'm sure that there's been moments for you in your life where you've had to work through resistance internally to share your beautiful light and to be your beautiful, vibrant self, and share your work in such a public way. So
Hmm.
and maybe even internally, maybe it's not even something that I can see from the external side, but share with us a little bit about how you manage to move through resistance and be in that space of effortless action.
Hmm. That's such a powerful question.
Mhm.
And firstly, one of the reasons why I love this question is because it's a reflection of like what people see isn't all of the process, right? And so some people may perceive that there's no resistance here, it's all easy. And it's like not true. So, there is a lot of resistance. And I still remember often saying to myself, like back in the day, because it's a muscle that I flex a lot now, it's like resistance is futile. And what I mean by that is like when we meet resistance and don't like honor it, it's like that's why we won't get where we need to go. Resistance for me shows up all the time. But how do I move through it? Two pieces. Understanding my why. Like getting out of my own way because the resistance is like in the moment, it's in the now, and it's often pieces and parts of beliefs and limits that have shown up from previous versions of me.
Mhm.
And so then there's the doubts and the fears that are coming in. And so when I zoom out from that, like this is new or whatever's coming up, and look at the what the why is, like what's the purpose of this? What's the greater reason that you're doing this? Then the resistance sometimes just tends to move out of the way. Because I'm like, well, that bit that you're having, the human part that you're having right now is not important because like she's important or he's important or this is bigger than you, so keep going. But that kind of leads into the other part of the answer, which is what I'm telling myself. And it's those things. It's like this is you don't know how this is going to go, so why not have fun? Um, and a lot of it is like hearing what I'm hearing the fears and the doubts and having a conversation with that and being in A, the listening, and then B, the response in a loving and kind way. And I often say this to my clients, but I'm also doing it to myself. How can you be your best teammate? How can you be your own cheerleader to move you forward in the way that you really want to move? And not to ignore the fears and doubts that are coming up, but to hear them and know that some of them are old and some of them, most of them aren't true. And then move through that with loving kindness for self. Um, so that's how I meet resistance. And it is in those statements of like keep moving forward and you'll learn a whole lot more. What could go wrong or what could go right? Like just really understanding like you'll learn. And I think a big part of that was understanding where my triggers were. And a lot of them were fear of failure and fear of judgment. There was a little bit of fear of rejection, but I kind of blew that apart. And that didn't take too long. But the fear of judgment comes up a lot. And then I realized that, well, the people who get what they need from what I'm sharing is more important than those who don't like it. And me sharing my truth and being honest in my expression is more important than a judgment that I might receive. And that often the judgment that I might receive is potentially from someone that's not in alignment with me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't have any power on me anymore. It's like I don't even want to be in that field. I'm not judging that person. They're not for me and I'm not for them. So what they have to say is none of my business. And actually that really helped me to start move forward with those resistances that came up. My beautiful counseling dear friend way back when, she was like, what they think of you is none of your business. And that was really powerful. And then what did I say? Fear of judgment. Um, I can't remember what the other fear was. Judgment and
Rejection,
and
I think.
there was
Yeah.
one more. What did it?
Rejection? Was it rejection or no?
It doesn't matter.
Mm.
Um, I
Okay.
think, oh, and the vulnerability, actually.
Mm,
Yeah, just being and thinking that vulnerability, that was actually, I mean, it's great that I didn't remember because then it brought this other piece up, but it's either fear of vulnerability and being in the understanding, which wasn't true, that vulnerability was a weakness.
mm,
And really coming to the understanding that that's our superpower. And I know that you know that too, because that's how we get to where we want to go, by being brave. But I
so
think
true.
the first part, like I keep coming back to my why and like what I'm here for and what matters to me. And that if I want to be in integrity with that in my life, then I need to and want to be able to share that for others.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Would you say it's the same for you in some ways?
oh yeah, I mean, I think you spoke to a lot of really important points. I think first and foremost is when we see that resistance is to sit with that part of ourselves that's in that space of resistance and meeting that with curiosity and self-care and a want and desire to get to the root of it, because usually there's something there, that
Mhm.
will actually really inform the process of being in a more effortless action, like that will really support us to like get our full self on board with whatever you're trying to accomplish or do. So and being in the why of like, well, why do I want to do this, like, what is propelling me forward.
Mhm.
So that can be very helpful, and I think you really named the judgments that I think I struggle with, or the things that I struggle with. Judgment of others, and now I can't remember some of them, self judgment. But I guess what I want to say too is just like it's so important to like notice too, like when, oh, like I'm afraid that that person's judging me, and actually we have no idea what's going on in that other person's head, and so it's just this warped like self judgment that's really happening, where it's like, oh, like I'm trying to see myself through the lens of somebody else, and I'm thinking or projecting that they're judging this on me, but really I'm just judging it on myself. And it's a very complicated inner mirror that we put up
Mhm.
that way.
Absolutely true.
And so it's like, what do I need to drop the self judgment and
Mhm.
just embrace myself,
Yeah.
and and I think to me too, like I'm just thinking back on a moment this year where I got really overwhelmed and got really stuck in some resistance, and it was exactly that. At the root of it was I was overwhelmed,
Mhm.
and I really had to take, like, there was, and then when I could, I recognized, oh, I'm overwhelmed right now, like, and then I could name, oh, wow, I'm overwhelmed actually because I have these three really big things happening right now. And they're
Mhm.
really big. They're big shifts, they're
It's
big
warranted.
change. I totally deserve to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And yet, how can I take it one step at a time? And what's most important for me to do now and to, get myself to that bigger goal that I'm trying to achieve.
Mm.
And break it up into little pieces and stuff like that. That really helps me. And to celebrate my momentum at the end of the day too. So I've been
Yeah.
really trying to do that. Like, oh wow, like actually I can say I just accomplished so much today, and not put even more on my plate of what I should or think I should be doing, but just be happy with whatever I got done today.
Hmm. Yeah. 100%. What I also heard was, well, what it reminded me of, which you and I both know really well, I think that a piece that's helped with our resistance is awareness. And what's helped us get to this level of awareness is what's reflected in the precepts and Reiki, right? Is like for today only. And it's like really being in the present moment and understand that can help because when we're in resistance, sometimes there are old thoughts or old beliefs. So it's like, what's true for me today? And then being without anger and there's the other parts of the precepts are just like so powerful in that anchor to be present with what's coming up for us
Hmm.
instead of that
Absolutely.
become like a reaction or an avoidance. Mm.
Totally.
Mm. So beautiful.
So good.
I love you and I love our chats and I'm so grateful.
Mhm.
So grateful.
I love you. I love you, friend, so much, and I wish you so much joy and just some beautiful conversations on your podcast.
Mm.
And I'm sure it'll be a really wonderful way to, hear from diverse perspectives and have meaningful conversations. And
Mm.
that's
That's the
something.
mission, right? It's like there's wisdom in all of us and when people say to you like the answers are within you, it's like they really are, but it's understanding and hearing from other real and honest humans of all ages, stages, beliefs, and understanding that we can have some really alternate opinions and perspectives as well as we're not alone. We're in the same challenges and the same and sometimes the same suffering. And that's really
Mhm.
powerful. But on that note, and before we go, how do people find you? Like, so what I didn't say at the beginning is that Carrie's like my Reiki teacher. So she's my guide, and she's the reason for anyone who's listening who's done Reiki with me or has followed that light. She's the reason for that. Um, because I met her in Denver, California, and then changed my plans and went to Denver and studied with you and have done many other times, and even like guided students towards you as well, because that's like the of highest service to them. So, how do people find you and connect with you and your work, whether that be Reiki or Vedic astrology?
Well, thanks, Jay. And I just love that. I don't think of you as my student by any means. I think of you as just soul sisters, and that we have like this kismet, like, I had a piece of something that you needed, and you've given me so much back too. So, thank you for that. And I'm so grateful that, Reiki found you, and it's a real honor to have shared it to you through myself and my work. Um, so yeah, my website, ReikiHealingSociety.com. You can find me there. A lot more information about the kind of Reiki that I practice. I practice a traditional Usui Reiki, but it's a little different in that I've really tried to weed out some of the Western influence on the system of Reiki, really reconnect Reiki to its Japanese cultural and spiritual roots. And so that's a perspective I bring forward in my work that has threads of trauma informed practices in my trainings and in my courses. And then also decolonization principles. So, really trying to, work through some of these implicit biases that we might have when we're working with a healing art from a different culture on a different perspective. So you're welcome to find me there. And then I also have a Facebook group. It's called Reiki Healing Society Mentorship. and trainings for Reiki practitioners. And that's just really a big community hub where I'm sharing a lot about my, current offerings and so forth, and then holding, opportunities for us to share about what's going on in the collective and questions, and also a place to promote your services if they're Reiki aligned. So
So cool, so powerful. I've got some of my students are connected with that as well, and they're really receiving the support and guidance that they need. So I'm grateful to connect people with you. And you've got podcasts and all sorts of things, but I guess they'll find that out as they follow you into your world.
yeah. I mean, yeah, my podcast, Reiki Women Podcast. I'm a co-host. I have two other amazing colleagues on that, and in terms of the Vedic astrology, you can find more information about that on my website. I don't have a ton of it on my website right now, so if you're interested in learning more about that, you can always just contact me, and there's plenty
Yay.
of opportunities to do that.
Do it.
So.
So much. And to our listeners, thank you so much for being here and igniting inspired insight. That is my highest intention, is to create that opportunity for you. I hope that something here landed in your heart, sparked a shift, or simply reminded you of your own knowing. If this conversation is something that really lit up something in you, or perhaps maybe you think of someone else that might want to hear pieces and parts of this, I really encourage you to share it with a friend, and we would really deeply appreciate that. And let it ripple out in your own way. You can find out more about us and our work in the notes of this show. And until next time, stay grounded, be open, and let your light guide the way. Hope whatever you've just viewed was highly of service to you. I'm going to ask you a favor. I would deeply appreciate if you could like or share anything that really speaks to you. And even more than that, and it'll take 2 seconds of your time, if you could subscribe to this channel. What that does is allow me to be seen by more people, and it increases the opportunity that I have on this platform. And that's just the nature of the biz. It doesn't cost you a thing, just a few seconds of your time, and it would really deeply help me to get further and reach more people in my work. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope I see you soon.